Hey folks, how you doing? Today is the, as you may have guessed, this is the second video in the series that I have on paleontology that I've been planning on doing for a while now. This was one that was put in the comments by my good friend Eric. If you want, if anybody wants me to do a video over a particular dinosaur or living animal or anything in nature, leave it in the comments and I will do my best to get the video made. Let's begin. So Stegosaurus, the name itself, means roofed lizard. Stegos is Greek for roof, sauros is Latin for lizard. So the reason most dinosaurs have the saurus at the end of the name is because that meant lizard, or that means lizard in Latin, and when dinosaurs were discovered, they were thought to be lizards, or at least reptiles. That has changed, but we'll go into that at another time. Stegosaurus was named in 1877. It was one of the first dinosaurs named in the Bone Wars, which was a historical event that we will go over. The genus itself lived between 155 and 150 million years ago in the late Jurassic. So a very long time ago. These creatures, most people know them. Again, it is one of the more iconic dinosaurs. Every kid, most every kid would recognize the Stegosaurus. It is very distinctive in its look. They were rather large. Well, a medium-sized dinosaur. They weren't the giants, though they did live with those. But they got up to 30 feet long and weighed between 5.5 to 8 tons. Now, there were quite a few species within the genus of Stegosaurus itself. But and their size varied. They were also other stegosaurs in the family, but we won't go into those. Their most notable features was the two rows of plates that ran down their back, and the 4 spikes at the end of the tail. The purpose of the plates is, as well as the tail spikes, is still debated. Some people have suggested the plates themselves were part of the defense of the animals. Another theory, or another hypothesis rather, is thermal regulation and displays. Like mating displays and that kind of thing. The tail spikes is most of the time thought to be a defensive weapon, or a weapon used in mating ritual combat between males. It most likely was used for both. It would have been, at least my hypothesis, it would have been a deterrent from predators, as well as something that they could have used. Most likely they wouldn't have hurt each other with them. It may have just been a display, but the predators would have. I'm sure there were predators who had got a few smacks with the tail. The interesting thing about the tail, and there will be a picture, I'll put a picture after I describe it, is The tail spike array is called a Thagomizer, or Thangomizer, Thagomizer. The term was coined by cartoonist Gary Larson in a comic strip called The Far Side. It was later adopted as an informal term for that spike array by scientists, which is really interesting. That's enough of the description for now. We'll go into one thing towards the end. Sorry for the noise. The habitat for the Stegosaurus, at least in a lot of places they were found, was a semi-arid environment, somewhat like the savannas of Africa and other places. There were a distinct wet season and dry season, which caused the wet season would have caused flooding. For this reason, there's a lot of good fossils in the Morrison Formation. Dinosaur National Monument being a very good representation of that. Conifers would have been a large part of made up a large part of the trees. There would have also been cycads. The ground cover would have been mostly ferns, mosses, and that kind of thing. Other animals that lived with them, there would have been pterosaurs, crocodiles, frogs, salamanders. The waters was full of fish. These things lived near the animals. They lived alongside the other dinosaurs. Some very good examples are the sauropods. They lived along with the sauropods. You had Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, and Camarasaurus were four main sauropods, and these things were giants. Brachiosaurus is famous from the Jurassic Park films. In particular, the first one. It was the first dinosaur you see. They were also dryosaurs, which were small, fleet-footed dinosaurs, as well as they were small theropods, ornitholestes and such. The small theropods would not have posed a big threat for these, though something like ornitholestes would have eaten the young, and maybe have scavenged on the eggs as well. There were actually three large predators, larger. One was a medium-sized predator, and then the two that were fairly large. Torvosaurus, which is I'm thinking that was a tyrannosaur, but I'm not for sure. I'll put in as a note if it was. You also had Allosaurus, in particular Allosaurus fragilis. Allosaurus could get up to 32 feet long and weighed around 2.5 tons. It was most likely the main predator of Stegosaurus. This is an Allosaurus Claw from the hand. This is the smallest of the three claws. It was on the smallest of the fingers, of course. The way they were arranged, the largest claw was on top, and it kind of went down in size. This would have been kind of like the pinky. Even this being small, it's a formidable claw. 32 foot long is not, T-Rex size. It's about 10 feet shorter and weighed a lot less. Most likely this would have been a lot faster predator. There was another one, Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus was the medium-sized one. The Ceratosaurus got around 20 feet long, and they only weighed between 1,000 and 1,500 pounds. These probably didn't pose a really large threat to adult Stegosaurus. Even Allosaurus probably didn't pose that large of a threat to adult Stegosaurus. Most predators do not go after adult healthy animals. They go after either the young or the very old or the sick. A predator is not going to go after something that's going to hurt it. It wants to preserve itself. Sorry for the chickens. This also gives a balance in nature, which keeps disease in check. Because if you're killing off the sick, the predators are killing off the sick, the disease is not going to go from one animal to the other. There was most likely enough difference between theropods and the Stegosaurus and other sauropods, and not other sauropods, but sauropods, that at least genetic differences, that a lot of diseases may not have transferred. Keep in mind that most likely the theropods, they are at least the ancestors of birds, and very well could have been made up more like a bird than the larger reptilian, non-avian dinosaurs. Torvosaurus, I should have researched more, but I didn't. I will do research and eventually probably go into make a video. I'm sure I'm butchering the name if I'm even saying it correctly at all. It was a larger predator, close to the size of Allosaurus, if I remember right. So it was another one that probably fed off of Stegosaurus. Going back to the description, I know this has been a little bit all over the place, but one of the last things I want to talk about, which was something that was taught in schools when I was a kid, and it was put in dinosaur books for kids, and it may still be. I've not really looked at the children's books for dinosaurs lately, and that was the concept that Stegosaurus had a brain the size of a walnut. That's not completely accurate. It was a little larger. It was around the size of a lime. But if you think about it, a brain the size of a lime to a 30-foot animal that weighed close to 8 tons is extremely small. The Stegosaurus head was small as well. It was most likely a browser and not a grazer. Just for the fact that the way its mouth was made. I'm sure it grazed as well, but another misconception, it was an early misconception when they first discovered and started describing these dinosaurs. Even the sauropods were said to have had this, but Stegosaurus in particular was said to have had a hind brain because scientists thought that its brain was too small to control its body, and there was there's a canal that runs along the around the hip region, and it's located in the bone, and it was basically a bundle of nerves in that area to help control the back end, but they assumed that it was a second brain, and that's how the animal maintained, that it required the front brain to work the front half and the hind brain to work the back. We now know that is completely not the case, but it was an interesting little tidbit of information. These animals were quite amazing to think that something so large had such a small brain and still functioned and thrived. The genus thrived for 5 million years, which is quite remarkable. So it wasn't completely helpless. And again, there were other stegosaurs as well. In particular, there were some in Asia that were nowhere near as large as Stegosaurus was, but they were several species of Stegosaurus, several genuses, in fact. I know this is a brief overview. It doesn't go into a whole lot of detail, but it's still quite a large film. There's not really a whole lot left to say. Again, like the video, subscribe if you want, share if you don't mind. Again, if you want to see or want me to discuss other animals in regards to whether living or extinct, put those in the comments. I am going to do my next videos. My next couple of paleontology videos are going to cover most likely raptors, pterosaurs, and megalodon, the shark. That being said, I don't know which order I'm going to go in. I may do the megalodon next because I have the teeth. I have the things that I can use. Displays. Unfortunately, I do not have the displays for Stegosaurus, with the exception of the Allosaurus Claw. I do have coprolite. I do not know what I've done with it. There's a pretty good chance that actually came from a stegosaur, but it is unconfirmed. It was a herbivore coprolite from the Morrison Formation. The spore is quite large. If you don't know, coprolite is fossilized scat, if you want to say the nice term. Fecal matter. A lot can be learned by studying that. If I would have known what I'd done with it, I would have had that in here as well, just as a show. But anyway, I hope you all have a blessed day, and stay safe, stay well, and learn as much as you can. Goodbye.